It's Friday, it's WARNO Devblog Day, and today is the one that you've been waiting for. You know who I'm talking to. It's time for the Army General Campaign Preview. Some of you will have played the campaigns in Steel Division 2, so you'll have some idea of what's coming. So today we are taking a look at the WARNO Strategic Turn-Based Army General mode. In this hypothetical World War III scenario, you'll be focused on the battlefields around West Germany's Sentag theatre of war. Today's first subheading is a new kind of warfare. So before we continue into our Army General preview, please keep in mind that the following is still very much work in progress. Our new strategic campaign mode, especially some visuals, are not final and subject to change. Just a little something to bear in mind when you are discussing with other players, as some of you can do so well and so passionately. But more details will be coming in the future. Now, the newfangled Army General campaign. Well, Steel Division 2 fans should be knowledgeable of the strategic mode, but for you who are unaware, here are some basics. The Army General contains various turn-based wargame campaigns, playable in single player, versus, or cooperatively. You'll be on massive maps with a host of different formations and units simulating a particular offensive or large-scale operation. We used historical order of battles, with each division portrayed as they were in 1989, including corps and army assets. These orders of battle or formational structures will be realistic and accurate down to the platoon level. In comparison with Steel Division 2, only went down to the company level. Each Army General map will range from 75 square kilometers to 150 square kilometers, covering real-life areas of Cold War era Germany. The maximum size will be the same size as the biggest map featured in Steel Division 2. However, it should be noted that WARNO's maps will actually be 33% bigger thanks to the level of detail and playable hexes on the map itself. Each pawn on the map will either be a battalion or battalion strength battle group. The stats of each pawn depend on its type, so think armoured, mechanized or motorized infantry, airborne, helicopter, artillery, recon, etc. And of course considering their historical table of organization and equipment. Next up is Army General in action. So how does a turn-based Army General campaign work? Each turn can represent half a day or a period of time. Within a turn you can move your pawns, attack the enemy, order artillery bombardments, airstrikes and call reinforcements. Each pawn has several action points they spend on movement and combat depending on the terrain. Semi-urban, plain, forest, etc. you spend more or less action points. Of course, you should also consider what kind of unit the pawn is. A helicopter group might not need to worry about dense forest, while an armoured unit would need to spend more time and effort crossing the trees. Now, if two opposing pawns come into contact with each other or into battle, you can either auto-resolve it, saving you time, or go tactical. The latter option will start a random map with a selection of nearby battalions able to join in, depending on the combat parameters such as distance, remaining action points, and status. When you choose to resolve the battle tactically as a commander, you can also assign the AI to control some of the majority of the battalions. So basically, you then go into a normal battle form WARNO as you would in the skirmishes or multiplayer. That is effectively the tactical combat in this sense. Now, the resulting wins and indeed losses on the battlefield will be permanent. Of course, there will be fresh battalions that can be brought in as reinforcements, but you need to conserve your forces over multiple turns. Basically, you won't want to throw away units willy-nilly like you might in a standard skirmish. So the next subheading is WARNO and the Army General mode. So WARNO will ship with 4 separate Army General campaigns at release, detailing various aspects of their World War III scenario. We can't go into too much detail yet, but one of them will feature the commonly held and frequently discussed hypothetical Fulda Gap offensive. This campaign will see the Soviet 8th Guard spearhead breaking through the 11th Armoured Cavalry Regiment defensive lines, with the latter holding on for as long as possible as NATO reserves assemble in the rear. To reiterate, each Army General campaign will be playable on both sides, NATO and the Warsaw Pact. Each campaign will also be playable versus the AI in single player effectively, or cooperatively against the AI, or indeed in Versus online multiplayer. Each campaign will cover a specific sector of the war scenario with its own briefing, intro video, setting, units, formations, etc, etc. And that's all the information they give us at the moment for the Armored General mode, but that's a little bit for us to sink our teeth into. And I know that some of you have been eagerly awaiting some news on the Army General campaigns and that single player aspect. So hopefully that has given you a little taste of what is to come. As always, please do like, share, subscribe to stay tuned for the latest WARNO news. Obviously, there will be plenty coming in the next couple of weeks and months as we get closer to the launch of the game. Now, for those of you who aren't sticking around for the few images from Instagram that I always put up for those who don't have it, thank you very much for watching and have a fantastic weekend. For the rest of you, let's have a look at the few images that they've put up this week. First up, we have this shot of Rock, the new battlefield, in all of its glory. Obviously a bit more detail than we had previously. We can see all of the points on there. It actually looks like a very nice map from this position. Next up, we have this shot of an Apache firing a Hellfire, just titled the Hellfire Club. And now we're getting an in-action shot from a different angle with some very nice smoke trails and explosions. Next up, we have the Mi-24 Soviet Strike, this is titled. I mean, you have to love the firing effects on the guns. They do look really good. Next up, we have this one titled The Adventures of Pinocchio. This is my nemesis in Wano. This is the Buratino. I still think it's far too powerful at the moment, but it is what it is. I'm sure it will gradually get balanced down. And that's pretty much everything there is for this week. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend.